That's good. Hello, hello. How are you? I'm doing a thing, I swear. Hello. I'm so happy to see you. Oh, yes. Happy Saturday morning. Goodness. We're trying some new things. Yeah, let's see how they are. Oh, that's better. Oh, and Cake says hello as well. I hope you're all doing quite well this morning. Oh, yeah, no. Cake says it's time for his tea, which would be these. He's quite keen on them. Hello, good morning, Robert. How are you this morning? It's so lovely to see you. It feels like it's been an age. The last 2 weekends, rather than doing proper tea of our normal style, I've been joining you all from panels, or during panels, or whatnot, at 2 different conventions. Hello, good morning, Cindy. Hello, or I suppose it's good afternoon for you, actually, isn't it? You're experiencing some later in the day. I'm on pot number 2 of tea, and I'm enjoying it very much this morning. So good. Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Robert, how are you faring? Because I know things are a bit dire in California right now, and I have not had an opportunity to really check in, other than I've seen that you are alive and mostly well on, the Book of Faces, but I hope things have improved a smidgen, a little. So, hello, good morning, Rachel. Good morning, Christine. Oh, no, that is perfect. Christine, I think that's an excellent plan of attack. Tea time in bed is the best tea time, especially on a Saturday morning. The gravity was very strong for me this morning, so was the power of the purr. Both of my feline compatriots were quite cuddly and affectionate this morning, and they did not want me to go anywhere. They were fairly emphatic. So they were distressed when I insisted that I had places to be, people to help, things to do, so tea to make. So yes, good morning everyone, good afternoon, good morning, happy Saturday, welcome back to tea. Oh yeah, no, the purring powers are so good. My dear kitties are always affectionate, but they are particularly, the power of their cuddles is particularly strong and emphatic the cooler it gets here. So, and currently I'm getting quite the loving gaze from Monsieur Gâteau, who is certain I should give him more treats, although he's had his morning's allotment. Oh no. Oh dear. Yeah, no, Robert, it's really dire. I know, and I haven't been, but the photography and the video from the region is so it's terrible. And looking at the maps, I hear from friends that it's fire season, but in my many decades of being alive and loving people and caring about people who I know who live in California, I have rarely seen such a dire series of fires, and so I'm really distressed for everyone. I know that some tea scouts are sort of looking at ways they might be able to do a fundraiser or assist in some way with the recovery already, so people are thinking about how they can help, which I think is so important. These sorts of things are out of our control. They're natural, terrible, phenomenon that we can't fix. But we can find other ways to be helpful. And I think that's not only is it a boon to those in need, but I think it provides real solace to those who are observers to the suffering. So, oh yeah, no, it's so terrible. I hope that it improves as well. And thank you, Christine, for donating. That is really good of you. The firefighters and everyone else, you know, they're on the front line battling these horrific fires. It's really... there are no words, so we'll drink our tea and we'll think of ways we can be of assistance, and that is a good thing in this world. So so yes, I unfortunately everyone I know and love so far is in good stead, although a few have been evacuated. So I'm hoping that there are no more new fires and that things begin to settle for everyone. And Cake hopes that too, but mostly he hopes I'll forget and I'll get him more treats. He's very optimistic on that front. You should see the look on his face. So, you know, absolutely full of every ounce of charm that he has. Yes. And of course he's got the, you know, pay attention to me paw going on. Yeah, yes. Look, all of these people. Silly thing. But we all know he gets 6 treats and no more. And that's, you know, in the morning. He's so spoilt. He deserves it though. As a dear friend said, is it really spoilt if we are showing the people we love and care about the sorts of love and attention that we want for them? That's merely an aspect of caring for someone, caring for whether it's a furry creature or a child or a friend or, you know, a companion in life. Is it really spoiling? It's sort of a terrible, you know, hyperbole. It's very much in vogue in the common lexicon. So yes, be that as it may. That's about as much philosophy as I can likely manage this morning, although I have been up for some time and have had quite a bit of tea. I'm still not my most philosophical in the mornings, so... good morning, Kathleen. Thank you for joining us. Kathleen is working with me on the lovely Dickens tea with our third partner in crime, Andy Ruiz, who is remarkable and managing all of the logistics and all sorts of fiddly bits, and just it's a big undertaking, but that's coming up for those of you here in southern Arizona or traveling in from California, and I believe we have someone coming in from Utah as well this year for tea. So that's coming up on December 8th, and we're all, you know, very fixated on making that come off this year. It will be our 7th or 8th year doing Dickens. I've lost track. I'm very bad at the numbers part of things, so I always need a calendar to reference. But it's many years of doing Dickens tea, and it's our big end of the year party. So we're doing tea for 125 humans this year, and we'll have live music by Crowded Quartet and dancing by Lykiska, and Father Christmas is coming to visit. We sent him an invitation, and he sent round his card and said he would be available and arrive and bring an elf or two for good measure. So we'll make certain to have biscuits for everyone. So that's happening. But other than that, I am delighted to announce that I am done with events for the year. It's been very busy 6 weeks, and I know you've all been following the adventures, and I've gotten to see quite a few of you at a number of said adventures, and I'm so happy that I did, because it's absolutely, for me, the greatest joy at all of these conventions and events and parties and, you know, various activities, is getting to have the quality time with each of you. So it started with our grand adventures at Gaslight Expo this year, which was extraordinary. It was just a wonderful year there. I always love visiting that convention, and I always have a lovely, wonderful, fun-filled, happy, positive experience. But this year there was something sort of extra good. It's a little hard to put my finger on, but everything seemed more wonderful, more fun, more whimsical, more warm, more community, more costuming, more. That would be my adverb of that weekend, is more. And that really started the six week craze, tour, adventure off on an excellent note. It has been quite the 6 weeks. I have lost track, but we did Gaslight Expo, Eldorado Days, Boo at the Zoo here at the Tucson Zoo with all the small children, Tucson Comic Con and TusCon, and in between those we were actually, I did the Fairy Festival as well. Yes, there was one weekend where you'd think I was not doing something, but I was secretly finishing up the build for Eldorado Days that weekend, so it's rather exciting all the way around. And good morning, Catherine. Good morning, John. Or actually, it's evening for John, I think. And it's also evening for Erin. So, or late afternoon for Erin. So John is joining us. Or is it morning? Wait, no, it's evening. It's evening for you, John. John's in Japan. And Erin is in Algeria. It's so lovely. And hello! Good morning! Glenda, very early morning for John. In the wee hours. 7 p.m. for Erin. Thank you. And by the by, happy birthday to Glenda, who just joined us and has been celebrating her birthday this week. So happy birthday to you, madam. I think you've been having a good week, so that's excellent. So there's scads of good news in the midst of some trying times in the greater world, and I think there's a deep value in celebrating the good. We have a social sort of bias out in the world to focus on the not so good, so here I'm very grateful that we can focus on the good and the productive and the, you know, positive actions we can take. And yes, Glenda, I'm so thrilled that you could join for tea, because I know it is not a trivial process for you where you live to make that happen. So thank you for joining us. And yes, I know it's early times, although it could be worse. We could have had some mad decision months ago that Saturday morning tea should start at, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We would really never do that thing, but it was slightly on the table at one point. I'm actually not coherent at that hour usually. I need so much tea. The earlier in the day it is, the more tea I need to be, a human person and to make sense. So, be advised. Yes, yes, I think 10 is about the earliest any of us want to manage tea on a Saturday, and tea and conversation. So thank you. Yeah, no, that would be a dreadful hour on a Saturday. I agree. Cindy, utterly uncivilized. And Catherine, I do believe that 8 a.m. is mythological. It's like a unicorn or a narwhal. Ooh, I mean, you know, somewhere in that zone between narwhal to unicorn on the mythological spectrum. Good morning, Marcus. Hello. And good morning, Ian. We don't often get to have Ian with us. So good to see you. Yes, good morning. And also I'm going to do one little thing because, let's see here. That's going to be just there. That's better. I had terrible popping noise happening in the background. Hopefully you could not hear it, but I could. So hopefully that's fixed. So it's November. We're coming up on the end of the year. And, well, that means plotting and planning for 2019. Neither the Grand Arbiter nor I do New Year's resolutions, but I love plans and projects and goals. Oh, goals. There'll be some talk about that. And, you know, collaborations. So always at the end of the year, I'm looking forward to next year's projects, next year's events, and sort of setting my year around those things. And that affects the Grand Arbiter's year too, because I start telling him what he's going to be wearing. And we discuss all of our adventures for the coming year. And, you know, there's some flexibility, of course, because new opportunities come up, new adventures arise, planned adventures may not take the shape we were expecting or hoping. So we'll see what exactly 2019 brings on that front, but we do have some plans in place, and we have such goals. Oh my goodness, a lot has happened in the last week for our lovely temporal entourage, for all of us. First of all, last weekend, Saturday night, you know, exactly a week ago, our Patreon hit 41 subscribers. 41 of you, amazing humans who love whimsy and tea and building up a strong community and sharing kindness. 41 of you backed our Patreon. I will try not to cry, but I may cry. They won't be sad tears, they'll be happy tears. I'm so overcome. Every time I go to say thank you or to write about it, I feel absolutely humbled and a bit, you know, at a loss for how to describe my feelings and how to properly share my gratitude. I think the main thing on the gratitude front is that we are committed, both the Arbiter and I, deeply committed to continuing this adventure and this journey with all of you, and continuing to build our community and continuing to make art. Yes, oh, you are so welcome, Erin. Yes, no, that's the other thing, is that, oh my gosh, there's so much, but we'll get to that. Thank you, Robert, thank you. So, we've hit 3 goal levels since April. And I just really did not expect to do that in 6 months. A little over 6 months, but still, I'm delightfully, gratefully surprised and overcome. And that means that I am, ongoing working on the second goal, which is taking our archived live videos and transferring them to YouTube so that they'll be more easily searchable, more easily viewable by all of you, and that there's a backup archive, as it were. So that's happening. And yes, Mick McTavish needs to bring me a hanky. So now we're working on goal 3, and that is the creation of our podcast, which will be a monthly podcast. And the current working title is Compliment Sandwich. Of course, as with all of these projects, we elicit your feedback and your thoughts and your input, and we want to collaborate with you on how that takes shape, and you sort of refine the vision and make sure it's a conversation you want to be a part of. But the Arbiter and I have been longing to do this, and you've made it possible. So Robert asked a wonderful question on the Patreon. He asked if it would be a Patreon only, for only people who subscribe to the Patreon, or if we'd make it available for everyone. And the answer is the podcast will be available for everyone. It will probably go live to our Patreon first, and then be more generally available for everyone. But now we're in the process of getting that all sorted and finding microphones and doing all of the technical things, and it's another kind of adventure, understanding these technical aspects and finding the best fit for all of us. So there will be some discussion in the next month or two about those details, and I hope that, as with all of the things we do, that not only will it be interesting, but it will be edifying. So if you've been considering doing your podcast, and you have a vision for doing one, we're going to do the legwork and maybe fall on our faces and, maybe pick ourselves up again and, discover all sorts of pitfalls and share them with you so that you'll have that research and that background, and you can take it off into your adventures. And yes, Ian, our intern supreme, knows how I love this sort of adventure. So yes. And then that also meant that it was time to release new goals on the Patreon. And that has been a bit of a revelation, and also a challenge to me personally, to be more bold and to see bigger and to be more trusting and to believe not just in what the Arbiter and I can do, but what you can do. Because it requires me to set bigger goals that require more collaboration and more assistance, which is a little bit terrifying. And we've mixed them in with sort of big goals and small goals, so that there are lots of reward stations, as it were. So now I am crying. So the first sort of small goal is to get to 50 Patreon members, and then we'll release the first page of our colouring book. Now, when we produced the new art for our logo with Christian Michiels, many of you immediately wanted to colour it. You did. And so the Arbiter and I started looking at ways that we could make that possible. And as we pursued that conversation, and it's coming, by the way, we are going to make that available to people, that page available for people who like to colour things. We are going to make it available in a like a real material way that you can touch it and do the thing. So several of you were like, but you know what we really want is actually a colouring book. We love to colour and we love the art and we want more of it. And, you know, how can we do that? What's that going to look like? And so, you know how Ptolemy and I are. It's never just a slapdash sort of thing with us. If we're going to make art with all of you, we want to do our very best job. We want to find the most lovely, wonderful, reflective art we can. And so we have a plan for the colouring book, and it's a very big project. That's our biggest project on the list. That is our ultimate goal, and it requires so much support and help and assistance and collaboration from all of you to get from here to there. But I think we can do it. Cindy's right. Big, bold and blazing new trails. That's our motto for 2019. And it's a shared adventure with you. So that's, you know, our big goal. And I'm not going to say the number because it's a very large number in a way. And yet it isn't. Because there are many of you in the temporal entourage already. The temporal entourage is not a small group of humans. Do you know how many friends you have here in the entourage who want goodness for you and who relish sharing in the art and the whimsy with all of you? It's tremendous, honestly, and humbling is the best word, but it's more than that, right? I don't simply feel like a small part of a huge thing. It's inspiring and heartening, and it fills me up with this kind of overflowing sensation of love and warmth. And I didn't even know that was a possibility in life if you'd asked me 10 years ago. So it's yeah, well, Erin, that is a conversation we are having as well. And yes, Ian, our intern supreme, is right. There's a lot. So many friends. And that's another thing. And there's so many things. I'll try and get through all of them. So our first big goal for the new year is to reach 75 backers, which is just 34 more of all of you. And we've stopped doing the like monetary number, the dollar amount. And the reason for that is because we don't need to worry about that number. Because you're all so generous. That if even you donate, subscribe for $1 a month, you make it possible for us to easily reach the next big goal, which is to share a story on the Patreon, which is a choose your own adventure. So good. And I'm very excited about that. So, and that will lead ultimately into possible comic book, graphic novel. And then after that, for those of you who love to play games, we're going to write a Fate game supplement for the Temporal Entourage. So for those of you who like to roll the dice and play a tabletop game, you will have a compendium of all of the wonderful mythos and characters and background and tea information that we have developed. So, pardon me, I should have brought a hanky. So yes, let's talk about some dream goals. So the big, fingers crossed, we're going to be optimistic and believe, like Peter Pan, in big things. So the big goal for 2019 is the colouring book. The ongoing conversation that has come up from multiple members of the Temporal Entourage. Many of you have said you would like a graphic novel or a comic book or visual representation of our adventures with some of our stories that we've told either, you know, in the live teas or the stories we share on the Patreon. And so that is a discussion we're having, and that would be a really big project, but we're up for it if you're up for it. It's a collaboration, and so we'll build it with you. Come on this adventure with us. Let's build art and make beautiful stories and whimsy and embrace all of this silliness together. And if it helps you to go out and build your silliness and your personal story, all the better. So that is a thing. We've increased our Patreon levels by 2. And, oh my goodness, I'm crying so much. Pardon me. But they're happy tears. Really. It's sort of, when I'm quite emotional, I just start crying. Even if I'm happy, which is why I cry at all weddings. I'm not sad, I'm just so happy I have to cry. It's an idiosyncrasy. So I'm so happy I have to cry. So we've upped our tiers, and our top tier now is one-on-one help with developing your character, as well as including that character in a story. One of our, adventures that we tell throughout the year, which you'll get in writing. All right. As to that, Erin, I use MAC. This is MAC mascara and MAC MAC eyeliner, and I use it specifically because it does not, run when I cry. And since I cry when I'm really happy, I need something that will not run because I'm so often happy. So yes, that's my secret. And I'll even share the names on the Facebook page, so you'll know specifically what it is. It's a bit spendy, but I don't use that much, and it doesn't run, and it doesn't irritate my eyes, which are sensitive. So many pluses there. So yes, if you are willing to go on this adventure with us, we will build it. But here's the thing, we so absolutely need your help. You join us Fridays and Saturdays. You are the foundational root, bedrock of the Temporal Entourage, and you go out into the world and share the whimsy and the kindness, and you do the good works. I watch you do them, I see it happen. I see your posts on social media. I see you at events. I interact with you. I watch how each of you does these amazing, remarkable, kind things. Robert, who tells beautiful, funny stories and has such a wealth of generosity and helps so many fellow artists. John, who's serving in the military, supporting our nation abroad and helping people when they're in need, who also is just has a bounteous heart full of kindness, and Axton, who is a whimsical rock, that's the best, and who is our first member of the Grey Berets and their captain, and it's just, oh goodness, I'm so overcome. But it's glorious. Erin is teaching teachers to be better teachers and touching so many lives. The list goes on and on. All of you. Glenda, who rescued a beautiful puppy and is kind to children and loves her auntie and brings such joy and magic everywhere she goes. I could say these things about each of you. And of course we all know about my big-boned pixie and the original OG intern, Ian, our intern supreme, who has touched so many lives and brought so much joy and whimsy and, you know, cheekiness and tea to all of us. And he's so young with so much more magic to create in the world. All of you are already doing so much in the world and creating our fabulous community. It's... how can I ever express it except to keep making art and keep creating this space? And thank you, Ian. That is very timely. Entrance of scary kiwi feet. Oh my goodness. So here's the other thing, because we keep hitting landmarks this week and then, you know, stretching for more. So we just hit 1,000 likes on Facebook today, and I was supposed to warn you all in advance that we were close, because the Grand Arbiter and I want to do something to thank you, all of you who follow us on social media and on Facebook and participate in our live teas every week. We wanted to do a little something to say thank you, and we want it to be something that everyone gets, rather than doing one of those like, oh, if you respond to this poll or you share this, we'll put your name out of a hat and one person gets a prize. We love to give one person a prize too. We like to do those, and honestly, if I could, I'd give everybody presents and prizes all the time, because I really, really love to do that, which is part of why we're always giving out so much swag, because I just really love to give presents deeply. I am like compelled to give people presents. But rather than do just one singular present, we wanted to do a big present. And so, since everyone really liked our beautiful new logo, the pen and ink logo that clearly is perfect for being coloured in, we thought we would throw out a poll to do another piece of art in collaboration with an artist, and we have a few that we really love working with now. You of course know Christian Michiels, who did the line art. There's Natalia Lopez, who's done so many of our little chibi whimsical art pieces over the years. Sean Goritz from Quarter Moon Creative, I think I've got 3/4 Moon Creative, I think I've got that name right, who does beautiful art. We've done things with Fancy Rat and Friends in Seattle, and we're so fortunate. We've met so many remarkable artists, and so we're going to be putting up a questionnaire, a poll, asking you what you might like, and you know, we might even ask you if you have an artist you prefer, and something you've been wanting to see. So that's going to be our reward, our gift, our thank you to all of you for getting us to 1,000 likes. And it's sort of, it's an arbitrary number in some ways. It is just a number. I think there are more than 1,000 people who are part of the Temporal Entourage personally. And just clicking a button on social media is, you know, can seem like a trivial thing, but it really assists us in spreading the community and in sharing the art and in, you know, developing more of what we're doing. So thank you for being a part of that kind of mundane technical thing, but we'd like to make it a little bit more magical and fun, and so art. That's what we're going to do with it. And hello, Stephen. Speaking of artists, Mr. Torres, if you have not seen Stephen Torres's art, it's three-dimensional sculptural art, and it's gorgeous. Oh my goodness. And he's just the most lovely human. So you can follow him on Instagram, and he lives up in Phoenix, and I think he's getting ready to do an installment for the Scottsdale Public Library, which is very exciting. So you get to see his art in person if you're up there. So yes, so that is happening, and I'm very excited. And here's where a piece thing all of you can do to help us. It's a simple thing. Of all the things that you can do, here's your simple thing. Please share our Patreon. Please tell people why you like it. Please tell your friends why you love being part of the Temporal Entourage. Please encourage people you know who come to our tea parties, who enjoy the tea dueling and the compliment dueling and the costuming and the steampunk and the sort of general quirky whimsical art. Please tell them yourselves in your own words. It's the most powerful, helpful, tremendous gift you can give. That's so powerful a thing. And you are so welcome, Stephen. It's my pleasure. I'm so excited for you on your installation at Scottsdale. It's very exciting. So, yes, that's a big thing that I'm going to ask all of you. And I'm certain I have other things that I'm meant to be talking about. But we got off on Madame Askew starts crying out of joy, and it sort of derails things. Thank you for your patience. And also for joining me for tea. Which is so good. I am, of course, drinking Tea Punks today because I delight in their teas, and they're so bloody good. And I've been going through a great deal of tea due to the cold, and so I may have put in an emergency request for more tea yesterday because I realised I was nearly out again. How did that happen? I mean, I suppose it's because I drank it all. So, and should you find yourselves in Tucson, you can come help me drink up my tea with me. I'm always happy to do that. Stephen, I hope that for you as well, and I think it's going to be tremendous. I think you do such a lovely, inviting variety of steampunk art that, you know, it sort of asks the audience, the viewing audience, to be part of the art and to really engage with it. And I love that. It's so wonderful. So I think that this is just a sign of bigger, more wonderful things. So as Cindy said, the motto for 2019. So more adventure, bigger things for all of us. May there be more joy in 2019 and more whimsy. And you know, I was listening to Madame Carriger doing a panel at TeslaCon yesterday, and she was being interviewed by the Airship Ambassador, and they were kind enough to live stream it, much as we're doing here. And so I was able to listen along, and she's always so delightful, you know. And she was just talking about the power of whimsy and goodness in the world, and let us harness that power next year and amplify it. I think the world needs more whimsy. It definitely needs more good. And all of you are so skilled in those activities. And I think that we shall together propagate more of that. And I'm excited. And thank you, Cindy. I'm not sure what's buzzing now because I turned off everything. Hopefully it's not this new feature that I added, which I think is actually helping mostly, but see. I lost my microphone this past weekend. No, the weekend before. And so I have to replace it. And so that could be part of the issue, is that that little tool has met its end in a fatal bustle pocket accident. Just a note, don't put your microphone in your bustle pocket. It won't last. Good, excellent. Thank you, Erin. I appreciate it. So, yes, adventure awaits us in 2019. For the end of 2018, we still have time for a little adventure, a little goodness. So there's going to be art. We'll be posting about that art piece and eliciting your feedback on that before we produce it. And there's also still a month and a half left in our Steampunk Sewing Challenge for this year. So this month's theme is Seeing Sepia. So however you want to interpret that. Next year I intend to do the Steampunk Sewing Challenge again. And I feel like we've learned some things this year. I've definitely learned some really good lessons about perhaps how to make it more accessible and easier for all of you to manage. And I hope that we can have more fun with that in 2019, because I really love, you know, encouraging everybody to make more costumes and sew more and do more and be more involved with the creative things that you love. Mary Lou, you tried, you succeeded. You did so many things this year. You made a bustle dress. You made your T-Scout uniform. You have done so much sewing. You did a monster doll that was so charming. I love it. So next year I'll probably put together the list of sewing challenges for the Steampunk Sewing Challenge in December, and I will release them before January. That's my plan. And what I may do, so let me know what you think. This is my thought. That might be better than just having an event page, which is somewhat confusing by virtue of how Facebook propagated that event page. So what I'm thinking is to make a steampunk sewing group that is focused around the Steampunk Sewing Challenge, so that you may all engage each other in conversation about your projects every month. and then I will release the list of challenges before January. But each month I will remind you of the challenge, and I'll talk about what I might do or might be doing that's applicable to the challenge. And I may ask for some, suggestions on challenges you'd like to see. Now, the thing about the sewing challenge is that sewing is a loose term there. I mean, it could be your stapling challenge, I really just want people to make something, or try and make something, or go back to an unfinished project and finish it, or start a project. I just want this to be sort of a prompt to help all of you make things that you kind of already want to make, or maybe you were a little bit afraid of making, but you've got a community that's going to help you make it. Temperance and I love doing our tutorials every week that we can. We cannot right now until I heal. So there's that whole thing. But, often we would sort of pair the tutorials with the theme of the month. They were often pulled from things that we were working on that we thought might be applicable to the theme. So the theme, the challenge, the prompt each month is meant to be vague on purpose so that you can interpret it in your own way. Sort of like a writing prompt, but for sewing. And it is inspired by some things that historical sewing, reenactment sewing groups do, which are really, they're invigorating and people get very excited about them, and it really encourages all of these people to make things and share their work and share their techniques. And I love that, but it's not always conducive to steampunks. Because we're not necessarily historical reenactors, right? We're not necessarily doing exactly historical sewing, but we're also not doing historical sewing. Sorry to be confusing. I mean, we pull from a source of inspiration that is historical, but we're not obliged nor constrained by it. So we're in our interesting little liminal space in between things. And I think what I want is to create more of that community with all of you that's supporting and uplifting, that pulls from modern sewing techniques and historical sewing techniques into lexicon of sewing that's all about our steampunk techniques. I hope that made sense. So yes, 1 or 2 projects for our graduate students I think is a good goal. Wendy, absolutely. Oh, yeah. All right, Cindy. Sleevels, as we call them, are indeed a somewhat ghastly and terrifying prospect. However, I will have you know that I no longer personally fear the sleeve after years of sleeve fear, and so it will be my goal to help all of you feel better about setting in sleeves and having less fear about it. So that will be my challenge to myself for 2019, is to help you with sleeves. So sleeves will somehow be one of the challenges, but not the January challenge, because honestly, January is not the time for sleeves. I mean, it may be the time for wearing them, but it's not the time for facing them. So sleeves, all right, absolutely. They are a bear. They can be a real nightmare, but there are some ways to make it better, and we will talk about those, and I hope help you feel better about them. So yes, so the Steampunk Sewing Challenge Year 2 will happen. We'll be at Wild West Con again. We'll be at Gaslight Expo again. We love those conventions. They're home for us. I'm hoping that I will get to be part of the Grand Canadian Steampunk Expo. Fingers crossed. I love getting to visit with everyone in Niagara, and I missed you all horribly this year. Deeply, deeply. It's just a hole in my heart. So I'm hopeful that that will happen. And a whole other, array of adventures. Yes, we will be going back to Atlanta for AtlantaCon, for instance. And we hope to open up our schedule a bit more so that if new adventures arise, we can say, yes, we will do that thing. So look for all of that. Look for some more announcements. Look for questions and requests for information and your thoughts and your feedback and your ideas. We want them all. We want to build these things with you. It's not ever just about the Grand Arbiter and me, and it never has been. That's what happens on the tea dueling stage, right? When you come to the field of tea, we're partners together, all of us on the field of tea, partners in fun and in having a good cuppa and having a good match, a safe, fun, lovely community space. So, alright, before I start crying again, so please share our Patreon. It means the world to me, truly. And as you watched me cry through a good portion of this live cast, I think you've seen that. So, and please continue to do all of the wonderful things that you are all already doing in your daily lives. And please send us your feedback. We'd love to hear your ideas. Cindy, have a wonderful week. I will see you next week. Friday, I'll be hosting, and then the Arbiter will host Saturday morning. So everyone have a wonderful week. I'm going to bid you a fond, happy Saturday. If you're here in Tucson, stay home. It's El Tour de Tucson today. Most of the roads are closed and the traffic is madness and it's very complicated. Or if you must go out, only go to the fabric store because Joann's is having a really stellar sale today. Good time to be buying fabric. Alright, my love to all of you. Have a happy Saturday. Thank you for joining me this morning. Cheers.